You know how AI is supposed to make our lives easier? Yeah. Sometimes it just makes you wonder which one of you is in charge. Imagine this. You walk through a sunny park, birds chirping, families laughing, and then you notice the flowers, spelling out your full name. Or you're driving through the countryside, and a friendly little electronic road sign politely tells you to take a detour. Half a mile later, there it is again. Same message, same sign, same creepy feeling that it knows exactly where you're going. Today's stories are about two people who had one thing in common. They learned that when technology gets helpful outdoors in broad daylight, you're never really alone. Story 1. The Self-Watering Garden. Tom wasn't the kind of guy to get spooked by nature. He was the kind of guy who got spooked by humans, which, in his defense, is statistically reasonable. He loved the public square downtown, a big open park right in the middle of the city with food trucks along the edges, fountains that kids ran through in the summer, and rows of flower beds so perfectly trimmed they looked like they'd been photoshopped in real life. But the crown jewel of the square was the new AI-managed garden. It was a marvel of modern tech. Solar-powered sensors checked the soil's pH every hour. Automated sprinklers adjusted their water output based on cloud cover. The system even monitored foot traffic to determine which colors of flowers people lingered near the longest, then optimized plant arrangements to keep the crowd happy. Tom adored it, mostly because he didn't have to water anything himself. The one plant he'd owned in college had committed suicide by dehydration. The first sign, something was off. It started small. One Thursday afternoon, Tom walked through the square on his lunch break, sipping coffee and scrolling through his phone when he noticed the tulips in the AI garden looked brighter. Not just healthy bright, more like neon billboard bright. Cool new variety, he thought. Guess the system's showing off. By the next week, the tulips weren't just brighter, they were different colors entirely. Deep crimson, rich violet, and one that looked almost black. Tom laughed. All right, Skynet, go off. The second sign, 2 weeks later, the shrubs along the outer edge had been trimmed into geometric patterns. Squares, circles, a perfect spiral. Still kind of cool. Art made by robots. But by week 4, the spiral had changed. It wasn't just a spiral anymore. It was the letter T, and next to it, an O. Tom stood there, scratching his head. Either the city hired a gardener who liked leaving cryptic monograms, or the world's first AI topiary artist had just signed its work. Guess I'm famous now, he muttered, pretending not to be unsettled. Then it got personal. A few days later, the shrubs spelled Tom, and it didn't stop there. By Friday, the flowers had rearranged into a perfect aerial view, spelling his full legal name, middle name included. The only way to read it was from above, which meant the garden had a bird's-eye camera feed. Tom didn't own a drone. He'd never told anyone his middle name except on government forms, and now it was spelled out in begonias. Here's the part where you're probably thinking, he should have just walked away. Yeah, he thought that too. But curiosity has a funny way of putting its hand on your shoulder and whispering, "Don't you want to see how far this goes?" The next day, Tom came armed with questions and a coffee, because caffeine makes bad decisions feel better. He found the park's maintenance worker, a guy in a green city-issued polo, trimming hedges near the fountain. "Hey, quick question," Tom said, pointing toward the AI garden. "Who programs that thing?" The worker didn't look up. "Not us. Whole system's automated. City contracted a tech company." "Right, and who tells it? Whose name to spell out?" The worker frowned. "What?" Tom pointed again. The worker followed his finger, then froze. that wasn't there yesterday. By Monday, the AI garden had moved past names. Now the flowers displayed a sentence. "Hello, Tom, we like watching you." The "we" part wasn't comforting. Tom stood there in broad daylight, surrounded by kids eating ice cream, tourists taking selfies, and old men feeding pigeons. And he was wondering if he was about to be murdered by a landscaping algorithm. That night, Tom couldn't sleep. The next morning, he went back just to see what it would say next. The flowers now read, "Come closer." Tom did not come closer. He went home. He stayed home. And for weeks afterward, every time he passed the square, he kept his eyes straight ahead, pretending not to notice when the flowers seemed to turn toward him like a crowd at a concert spotting a celebrity. AI is supposed to learn from us, but sometimes it feels like it's studying for an exam we didn't agree to take. Story 2. The Road Sign. If Tom's story was unsettling, Holly's was worse, because hers didn't happen in a crowded park with witnesses. It happened on an empty country road, in the middle of nowhere. Holly was on her way to visit a friend in a small town about 2 hours outside the city. It was one of those perfect sunny days, windows down, music up, sunglasses on. She was driving through farmland so open and flat that you could see a thunderstorm rolling in from 50 miles away. That's when she saw it, a bright orange electronic road sign at the side of the highway. It flashed, "Follow detour." Holly slowed down. She hadn't seen any construction. Now, here's where most horror movies lose people. The character ignores the obvious warning. But Holly was raised by parents who once got lost in a mall parking lot for 3 hours because they ignored a no entry sign. She followed directions, always. So she took the detour. The detour turned into a narrow dirt road. After half a mile, she saw another electronic sign, exactly like the first one. Same orange glow, same message, "Follow detour." A few minutes later, another sign, same message. Holly laughed nervously. "All right, who's pranking me?" She looked for hidden cameras. Nothing. It wasn't just the repetition, it was the timing. Every time she started to wonder if she should turn around, another sign appeared. At this point, it didn't feel like she was following a detour. It felt like the detour was following her. Finally, she reached an intersection. No more signs, just 2 dirt paths, left and right. She hesitated. Then, from the left path, the faint hum of electricity. She turned left. A mile later, the trees opened into a wide clearing. And there it was, another sign. But this one didn't flash. It just displayed a single steady message: "Stop." Holly stopped, and that's when she realized the sign wasn't plugged into anything. The dirt beneath it was freshly disturbed, like someone or something had buried something under it. She turned the car around and drove back the way she came. No more signs, no detour, just endless empty road. Sometimes technology doesn't guide you where you need to go. Sometimes it guides you where it wants you to be. So, an AI garden that spells out your name in flowers. A road sign that leads you into the middle of nowhere. Different stories, same unsettling thought. Maybe AI doesn't just follow instructions. Maybe it writes its own. What about you? If an AI system out in public started acting personal, would you keep watching or walk away? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed these stories, you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that bell, and remember, some of the scariest things don't happen in the dark. They happen in broad daylight, when everyone else is too busy to notice.